the 2 times table using the mnemonic major system. We're going to learn the 2 times table using short stories. And the main hero of our short stories for learning the 2 times table is NORA. Let's start with 2 times 1. Noah was in the mood to buy tie for himself. So he went to the tie shop, and in the tie shop he found this beautiful tie that he just loved. He wanted to try the tie, so he put on the tie on himself, stood in front of a mirror, and he said, "I am Noah." Even after putting on the tie, Noah was still himself. Noah was still Noah. So thus, Noah times tie equals Noah. 2 times 1 equals 2. Now y is Noah 2 and y is tie 1. Let's look at that. In the mnemonic major system, numbers are represented using letters or sounds. And once you have letters or sounds, you can then take them and make a word out of it. So I have taken the major system equivalent of 2, which is n, because there are 2 vertical lines in an n, and that's why n represents 2. And in the major system, vowels and vowel sounds don't have any value. So if I add OAH to make n into Noah, the value of this word is still 2. Now why do we have a tie in the story? A tie starts with the letter T. And in the major system, the letter T and the letter D represent the number 1 because they have one vertical line in them. Thus, tie starts with the letter T and T represents the number 1. Thus, tie equals 1. So now if we go back to our story, Noah, which is the number 2, multiplied by tie, which is the number 1, is still Noah, which is 2. Thus, 2 times 1 equals 2. Our next story starts one day when Noah woke up early in the morning. He went to the bathroom, and in his bathroom was a mirror. Noah stood in front of the mirror, and he saw another Noah, a reflection of himself, in the mirror. Thus, we had one Noah in the bathroom and one Noah in the mirror. While Noah was standing in front of the mirror, the sun came out, and a ray of sunlight through the window came and hit Noah in the eye. So he covered his eye with his hand and he said, "Oh no, it's too bright." So in this story we have Noah times Noah equals ray. Ray represents the number 4. Let's look at how ray represents the number 4. In the major system, the number 4 is represented by the letter R because the number 4 ends with the letter R. And I took R, I added a couple of vowels to make the word ray, and thus number 4 equals ray. So going back to our story, Noah times Noah equals ray. 2 times 2 equals 4. That brings us to our next story. Another day, Noah and his ma went to the ice cream shop, and his ma bought Noah his favorite mint chocolate ice cream. Now Noah was enjoying his ice cream, and seeing Noah enjoy his ice cream brought a lot of joy to Ma. His ma was so happy seeing her son eat ice cream. Thus, Noah times ma equals joy. Noah, as you already know, is the number 2. Ma is 3 and joy is 6. So let's look at why ma is 3 and joy is 6. The letter M looks a lot like the number 3 that is flipped on its side. So a number 3 on its side looks like M. And we add a few vowels and M becomes ma, and ma equals 3. In the major system, 6 is represented by many sounds, and one of the sounds is J. And you can see that when you write in small letters, J with a loop at the bottom of the letter sort of looks like a flipped 6. Thus, J here represents 6, and a word from J is joy. Thus, joy equals 6. Going back to our story, Noah times ma equals joy. The next day evening, after dinner, Noah was looking through his telescope into the night sky. And while he was looking into the night sky through his telescope, enjoying the beauty of all the stars that he saw in the sky, he saw a ray of light coming from somewhere. So then Noah followed the ray of light using his telescope, and then his view landed on this unidentified flying object, a UFO, from an alien planet. He then ran to tell his family about it. This story represents 2 times 4 equals 8. 2 is Noah, as we know already, and we also know that Ray is 4. Now 2 times 4 equals 8, which is UFO. Let's look at why 8 is UFO. In the word UFO, or in the acronym UFO, U and O are vowels. So the only non-vowel letter in there is F. In the major system, the number 8 is represented by the letter F and by the F sounding V. Thus UFO represents the number 8. So going back to our story, Noah times Ray equals UFO. The next day morning, Noah was playing with his ball. And while he was playing with his ball, the ball rolled under a low space. In order to find the ball, Noah got on his knees and hands and he crawled under this low space. And when he was crawling deeper and deeper into the space, he saw humongous sized toes. After seeing those toes, Noah imagined that those toes must have belonged to some huge feet, and those huge feet must have belonged to some huge monster. So Noah got really scared and he ran away from there. This story represents 2 times 5 equals 10. Noah is 2, Lo is 5, and toes is 10. Now let's look at why Lo is 5 and toes is 10. 5 can be represented with 5 fingers of our hand, and the index finger and your thumb, when held apart, looks like an L. That's why in the major system, the number 5 is represented with the letter L. And if I add a few letters to it that don't have any value, then I can get the word low. Thus low equals 5. Now why is toes equal to 10? We've already seen that the number 1 is represented by the letter T. Thus, the 1 in 10 can be represented using the letter T. In the major system, the number 0 is represented by Z or Z or S. So we choose S in this case. So, and I add a couple of vowels in there to make T and S into the word toes. Thus, 10 equals toes. Our next story happens that afternoon after Noah comes back from his school. So Noah has played in his school and worked in his school the whole day. He's walked back from school. He's all tired and he's all hungry. So by the time Noah comes into the house, he's all hungry and he's looking for something to eat. He goes into the kitchen, and on the kitchen table he finds something that brings him a lot of joy. He's overjoyed. Oh my God, I can't believe I found this. And he goes to the table to look at the thing that he found, and he sees that it's a tin. And inside the tin, there are delicious cookies. And as hungry as Noah was, his joy knew no bounds. This story represents 2 times 6 equals 12. Noah is 2, 6 is joy, as we have already seen. Tin is 12. So let's look at why tin is 12. The number 12 can be represented using the major system, using the letters T for 1 and N for 2. And if I put a vowel in between T and N, can come together to form the word tin. Thus, tin represents the number 12. So, Noah times joy equals 10. That day evening, Noah's grandfather called Noah to his room. And he opened a humongous trunk. And from the trunk, he picked up this huge, old-looking key, metal key, a heavy key, and he handed the key to Noah. And he said, "Son, this key has been in our family for generations. I want you to have it." On the key, there was a small inscription. And when Noah looked really close, he found that it was an inscription of a deer. So in this story, Noah is 2, key is 7, and deer is 14. Thus, 2 times 7 equals 14. Now, key equals 7. Why though, you may ask? In the major system, the number 7 is represented by the letter key. The number 7 is represented by the letter K. And using vowel sounds, you can make the letter K into the word key. Now, why is deer 14? Like we saw earlier, the number 1 is represented using the letter T or the letter D, because D also has one vertical line in it. Thus, 1 is D in this case. And we already saw that 4 is represented by the letter R. So if I put a couple of vowels in between D and R, I get a deer. Thus, deer represents the number 14. Noah times key equals deer. 2 times 7 equals 14. Later that evening, Noah was playing in the evening, cool evening, out in his garden of his house. And while he was playing, he looked up for some reason and he saw that a brightly lit UFO was falling down from the sky. Must be the same UFO he saw a few stories back. So Noah then rushed into the house and brought out a dish, a huge dish, and he caught the UFO in the dish. This story represents 2 times 8 equals 16. Noah times UFO equals dish. Now why is dish 16? Again, dish is made up of D, I, S, H. D represents the letter number 1, and the sound SH represents 6. In the major system, 6 is represented by many letters and sounds. So SH is one of the sounds that represents 6. If you write SH in a serif font, you'll also see that there are 6 serifs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thus, SH represents 6. And I'll put a vowel in between D and SH and I get dish. Thus, dish is 16. And Noah times UFO equals dish. The next day, when Noah had some time, he saw that his pet bee was getting restless. So he decided to take his pet bee for a walk in the park. And he put, as usual, a leash on his pet bee and he went about walking in the park. A dove was flying around the park, a huge dove, and the dove saw the bee, which looked really yummy to it, and the dove flew down, swooped down to attack the bee and eat it. That was when Noah noticed the dove flying in, and then he put his hand and said, "Stop! Don't eat my bee!" This story represents 2 times 9 equals 18. Noah times bee equals dove. Why is bee 9, you may ask? If you write a bee in small letters, it looks like a flipped 9, or a 9 that's turned 180 degrees. Thus, the number 9 is represented using the letters B or P in the major system. So in this case, we chose the word B. Thus 9 is B. Now why is dove 18, you may ask? Number 1 can be represented using the letter D, and we saw earlier when talking about UFOs that the letter F or the sound V is used to represent the number 8 in the major system. Thus, D and V can be put together to form the word dove, which represents the number 18. Thus, Noah times B equals dove. 2 times 9 equals 18. After coming back from the park, while getting into his house, Noah stubbed his toe. He stubbed his toe so hard that his foot swelled up. His feet swelled up so much that his shoe could not fit his foot anymore. So he took it off. When he took it off, his toes, being in the shoe all day, started stinking. All his toes gave out a stink, unbearable stink. And when that stink got into a nose of a person, he said, "Ew, stinky toes." This story represents 2 times 10 equals 20. 2 we already know is Noah, And tos, we already know, is now the number 10. Now nos is 20. Let's see how. Nos starts with the number 2, which is represented using the letter N, and 0 can be represented using the letter S, as we have seen already. And if I put a few vowels in there, N and S can become the word nos. Thus nos represents 20. A few days later, Noah and his dad wanted to go to the city, and they wanted to go to the city by taking public transit. So they went down to their nearby bus stop to board a bus to go to the city. In the bus stop, they saw a nun who was on her way to go to a public library because she had some important research to do. So while they were standing in the bus stop, Noah and his dad, they met this nun, and they were talking while waiting for the bus. This story represents 2 times 11 equals 22. Noah times dad equals nun. Now why is dad 11? Now 1 is represented using the letter D, and we have 2 ones, so we have 2 D's. We put an A in the middle, then 11 becomes dad. And 2, the number 2 is represented using the letter N, and so we have, for 22, we have 2 N's. You put a vowel in between, it becomes nun. Thus nun equals 22. So 2 times 11 equals 22. Noah times dad equals nun. Later that night, Noah was told by his mom to clean up his room. So Noah happily started cleaning up his room. And while cleaning up his room, he found an old tin in his room. And inside the tin, at the bottom of the tin, he saw a picture of his friend NORA. He had this picture of NORA from a long time. He had just forgotten about it. So when he was when he found this tin and the picture of his friend NORA, he was pleasantly surprised. This story represents 2 times 12 equals 24. Noah times 10 equals NORA. We already know that 2 is Noah and 10 is 12. NORA represents the number 24 because N is 2 and 4 is R. This brings us to the end of the times table, the 2 times table. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you have questions or would like to see more, feel free to comment, and I'll provide some more resources in the description below. Thank you and wish you a pleasant day.